Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I haven't been awake that long. Bear with me. Bear with me. Well, well, what can you say but fucking well?
Is that a good wow or is that a fucking wow? What kind of wow is that, man?
It's an undecided wow yet.
Fair enough.
No, I mean the things are moving in a way that the bulls can only look at it and go, yeah, that's bullish. You know?
Yep.
Um, we even though it didn't set things alight, we did still make a new all-time high on the last surge of Bitcoin a week or so, or 10 days ago, whatever it was. And
Hmm.
that was of massive, massive, massive importance, because if we hadn't made that new all-time high and then we'd had this pullback, that would be a completely different story. So this 108, 109, I think you pointed out CME gaps on
Yep.
Bitcoin. And I think that's might be where it was going or where it was heading. But
Mm.
when I look at the chart, I don't really see it going much past kind of where it is now. Maybe it hangs out at around this kind of 109 or whatever, but I don't, you know, I don't see it tanking at this point. I mean, Ethereum is becoming, obviously the hottest girl on campus, but until she gets to $5,000 and then closes above it and retests it, was
Mm.
still in that kind of like, well, it's not quite time to go out on the piss yet. Everybody's got to stay at home and wait a couple more weeks before we
Yeah, last week was interesting because obviously we went into a few trades and a lot of good positive news in terms of what the Trump administration is kind of doing and the Trump media fund backing up a few crypto exchanges, things like that. So it's actually very bullish. You know what I mean? Like that hasn't happened ever. How
Mm.
this is kind of the trickiest thing. How do you treat that? Because this is the first time that this happened in history. So is that bullish? Is that bearish? Is that going to go to shit? Is that actually going to go to the moon? So that's kind of what you have no data to test. You have no data to see how the market is going to react to this kind of news. That's kind of where I'm at. I have different outlooks of things,
Mm.
but that's kind of things, right? Like, and something to be mindful in terms of crypto is that everything is new. You do have some patterns. You do have some data to go back and cycles and stuff like that, but everything is new. Tomorrow, brand new news, could come back and say that media Trump is, money laundering with crypto. I don't know what, you know what I mean? And then everything goes to shit, you know what I mean? Or vice versa. So that's kind of the thing about crypto, which is interesting, frustrating sometimes, annoying, but that's where the opportunity lies, right? Like if it was very easy, then everybody will just buy it and that's it, right? Um,
Exactly,
so
exactly.
so so yeah, it's good things. But I see good things now. I will go through some charts and stuff like that, things that I'm seeing that it remains
Mm.
positive. So yeah.
Yeah, nice. Like when everything's going up, the market seems like it's your friend, and then it just becomes this giant fuck around machine. It just won't do anything when you want it to just you know. But yeah, no, it's great. I mean, it's well the way I see the game is infinite, the game will be here after I'm not here. So there's like this overall frame of patience to adopt.
Mm,
It's a bit
mm,
like here's one 20, maybe more than 20 odd years ago,
mm,
maybe around that, right? When like English football started becoming really professional with like the Premier League for the first time. Well, Manchester United were kind of ahead of people because they started to develop their youth. So their manager at the time was the first manager that really started to look at football as an infinite game and then started doing things for the future, and that kind of shaped the whole game in England. And crypto's a bit like that, really. It's going to be here in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. Next year we'll be here again in another however many years. So sharpening the patience and sharpening the skills. Jason, the 50, yeah, yeah. Me and you speak about the same amount of Thai then, Jason. Yeah. Anyway, I haven't been up long. I haven't had a cup of coffee yet. I don't know what I'm
Oh
doing,
man,
Maurizio. I'm just kind of
man. All
faffing
right, let's
around. So,
let's
so
go
we've got a
with
really important announcement. I'm going to hand over to Maurizio, and he's
right.
a really important announcement. I mean, I'm shocked and I'm saddened by what he's going to say, if you know what I mean. I never thought a guy like him would get involved in something like that. But well,
No,
I'm going to be
just
quiet now. I'm going to go away. Be quiet.
go get your coffee, man. Go get your coffee, and I'll see you back. No, just giving you a quick update, guys. From starting tomorrow, Tuesday and Thursdays, the daily update, I'll be doing it on the London session instead of after the um, day closes. I think it will be a little bit better for trading, and if we do some scalping and things like that, that could be a little bit better. So we're gonna try for this month, Tuesday and Thursdays, and then Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays we'll give the regular sort of daily updates at the same time. So in the good news, we might expect good scalps at those times. So that's kind of what we're aiming for. So let's see how it goes. So that's kind of the update that I just want to give you guys. All right, so let's get cracking. So how do you guys all feel about crypto today? Just wondering, because it was an interesting last week, right? Oh yeah, Kevin, that should be useful as well. Yeah, that's why we want to trial out a few different times, things like that. So um yeah, yeah, crypto is interesting. So we did mention, right, that end of the month. Okay, so today here in Australia is the 1st of September, right? So this is the first day of the month. So essentially, and by the way, today market's going to be liquid in a way because US it's holidays, so pretty much markets are closed. So I'm not expect we could get big moves up and down in terms of liquidity, but let's see how it goes. So I'm not planning to do much to do today, but so that's kind of always to keep it back in your head. End of the month always, not always, but if you go back in time, there's a highly likelihood that you get a pullback before, right? So yeah, let me start sharing my screen. Give me 1 second. All right, do you guys see my screen now? And bear with me that I'm on my laptop, so I might be a little bit clumsy with my laptop. All right. So let's get cracking. So first of all, let's have a look at Bitcoin, right, from the daily perspective. So I want to sort of go through higher timeframes today. So today is the first monthly candle. So if we go, this is how the month closed on every single chart. So this is a really good day to analyze monthly closes, right? Because this is the actual month that just closed down, right? And we just open a brand new monthly candle. So from the trend perspective, right? Let me just hide this one. Okay. From the monthly perspective, right, you can actually see that this month is definitely a pullback, right? And now the question is, how far of a pullback are we going to get, right? Is that going to go down to these levels here from the monthly perspective? And we're talking about 102. That's a possibility, right? So this is kind of the breakout of the monthly candle. So essentially, you know, if you talk about more resistance support every time that you get breakout, then your resistance becomes support and vice versa, things like that. So from a monthly perspective, I have to have in mind that we have this line right here, which is the 102-ish level, right? That potentially, if we have weakness, that could be one significant area to look for. If we go below that, then definitely we start shifting structure in terms of trend from the monthly perspective. Okay, so I just want to go to top down month, week, day, right? And you're gonna see what I'm getting with this in terms of big trends, right? So that's what I'm saying in terms of monthly, right? If we bring it down to weekly, I should pick that there. Okay. All right. From the weekly perspective, let me just put in the chat. What do you guys see from the weekly perspective on Bitcoin? Whatever you can think of. Is that bullish, bearish, break structure? Tries this downtrend up. Okay. Downside deviation in down. So as you can see, we all have different perspectives. Even though it's the same chart, we all see things differently, right? And that's what a market is, right? So, you know, yeah, you're right when the market moves to the direction that you say it was. So from the weekly perspective, right, what I'm saying is now we're starting losing this structure here. So we see that, you know, that those 2 weeks that happened here on the 19th of May, right? Now we close below this. Ian, remember last week that we were talking about this weekly candle and we mentioned that we broke a structure, right? And when we break structure, usually, you know, it comes back to the next level. So that's kind of even though, you know, we had the pullback from this level, structure is very, very important. Like, you know, the trend structure sort of deal. And we broke structure a little bit here, and then indeed we went down this week, right? So this is a week down. So now we are below the structure here, right? So we're below the structure here. So the next point of holdback is actually the 102 level, which is the monthly sort of structure. So in my mind, if we don't come back here this week, more than likely we can go back and retest this area, which is the 200 MA on the week sort of time frame. So we have this region here around 104, between 104 and 102 that it could potentially be retested. We have a potential. I'm not saying that it will not, depends on how the market reacts. Positive now, we just closed the month. And I think the next order of things what people are waiting for is the cut rates, right? That's the big news, that the big catalyst that could drive us to either direction, right? Because everybody's expecting rate cut. If that happens, that's going to be positive for the markets. But if it doesn't happen, don't know how that. I'm not saying that it's not going to be positive or negative for the markets. Let's see how the market reacts to those news, right? But if you don't get what you're expecting, more than likely it's not going to be positive, right? Like that's kind of my take sometimes. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing in terms of big time frames. Graham, yeah, money flowing from BTC into it. Yes, I'm gonna highlight some of that. So obviously we start with the big dog, which is Bitcoin, and then we're gonna do the same thing with Ethereum. But I'm gonna highlight something very interesting in terms of Solana and things like that. So that's where we are in the weekly. So be very interesting to see how this level holds, right? And that's why let me just draw a rectangle, especially here, this level right here. Very interesting right here. Now that I have like a level that I drew on the weekly, now I go back to the daily, right? And now the daily is like your day-to-day move. So yesterday, let me just open this up a little bit more. All right. So over the weekend, not much action. Saturday was like a positive day. Yesterday, negative day. Most of the pullback happened on Friday. Okay, and why? More than likely, obviously, if you are a risk fund, and you want to do risk, you want to do it before Friday, before Monday. That is holidays and things like that. So obviously that was sort of expected. The downside of this is you don't know how far it could go, or maybe a little bit of a pullback, and then but from the daily, we still broke structure here, right? So you have this structure. So you have like a daily kind of bearish take. We haven't actually taken this sort of curve yet. You know what I mean? Like to take is like that. We need to break a structure. So I think my first area to give me an indication that we're going to start breaking structure is, close around this again, 112, right? Unless that happens, it will be tough to actually get to those levels again. So that's kind of where I'm at in terms of Bitcoin. Now, before we jump into Ethereum, let's have a look at Bitcoin from the open interest and CVD perspective. Now, this level here, right, which happened on the 30th of August, was actually very important for spot buyers to come start buying at 108. So at 108, you can actually see there is a lot of influx of volume here. Now we're losing that level here, right? So we're losing that level here. So let's see how today goes, but it doesn't look that today could be a really good bottom place to be. Now we're still getting liquidations to the downside, so a lot of people went long here. So yeah, this is, you guys know me now. This is how I start gauging strength. So yeah, from that perspective, it doesn't look strong today, right? Can that shift tomorrow? Definitely, but that's kind of what I have in terms of Bitcoin. In terms of the gap, right? The CME gap, we still, let me just have a look at this one from there. We still have the gap, it hasn't been filled. Is that going to be filled? Maybe. If I see it from this perspective, from the daily, right? If we, Ian, you mentioned the deviation. So this is the bottom. We have a deviation closes back here. More than likely we'll get that sort of shift. Until then, still holding. Okay, so that's kind of where I'm at in terms of Bitcoin. Higher time frame looks pretty good still, right? Still bullish. Obviously, we are on the verge of a pullback, which is good. So this could be a new positions or closing stuff that we have at the end of the day. That's it. So that's terms of Bitcoin. Now let's have a look at Ethereum. Let's do the same thing. Give me your thoughts on Ethereum on your on the monthly chart. What do you guys see here? Is that good, bad? What are you? Right. Yep, it's been strong. Up, yes. It's going back down, yes. Right, Todd. Okay, RSI. Just the relative strength. I'm gonna give you a better way to have a look at relative strength instead of the RSI. Bullish color. Yeah. Okay. So here's what I'm saying. Obviously, these all-time highs on terms of Ethereum, right? Tim, I think you're right. Depends on what the fuck Trump does, man. Unfortunately, that's the way it is, right? I do agree. Obviously, this is an indication, see what the traders are doing on a day-to-day basis. But long-term wise, it's like, depends on what happens with Trump, man. All right, so we do have all-time highs right here, which happened on November 2021. So it's been a while, right? It's been a while now. Huge resistance there. How do I know it's huge? Because we had a massive pullback from there. Okay. But we're still structurally, I hope I said that word correctly, structurally. Okay, right? So we basically above this breakout. So from the monthly perspective, it looks pretty good. We did have a retracement, yeah, that's cool, but we did not break below this area right here, which is definitely a really strong signal for bullish sort of expectation, right? So, and if we actually have the all-time highs, then it's going to reclaim the macro sort of bullish, and where is this gonna head? Who knows, man? A lot of people speculate around 8,000, 10,000. So, yep. So that's kind of. Let me just give me 1 second. Let me just close the door. One second. Sorry, guys. My baby started crying. So it is what it is. All right, so that's kind of what I'm saying on Bitcoin. Oh, sorry, Ethereum from the monthly. Let's bring it down to the weekly. Now, what do you guys see here in the weekly? Is that a shift of structure? Is that a pullback? Or what do you guys think it is? Yeah, Jason, I know. My wife is with the baby, so that's cool. But all right, so yes, definitely pullback. Looks like a pullback. We don't know if it's we will know it's a shift of structure when we start closing below here, right? Why? Because we just sort of, this is kind of the all-time highs. We break up, bounce here. So far is deemed as a pullback. So that's how I deem it from the weekly perspective. So that's how I'm gonna play it, right? Until we change structure, then for me it's still pullback. Okay, so now let's go back to the daily. Okay, now if we break to the daily, right? We're breaking Monday low right now. Mike, what do you mean by breaking Monday low? Because Monday is just starting. It hasn't been a monthly, a Monday low yet. Just wondering. Are you talking about today's low in terms of Bitcoin? We'll come back to you, man. So yeah, bear in mind that obviously Monday low, if you talk about Monday low, it hasn't closed, right? If you talk previous Monday low, that's a different story, right? But then what we see here is that we kind of bouncing out of this level here. You see that we creating a range right here on 4,300, give or take, right? How do you know we're creating that range? Because the price has bounced several times, right? It hasn't been able to break this level here. That means it's a lot of buyers respecting that sort of level. So that gives me a little bit of an indication that people are front running this level here. So you see an upside, pullback, upside, and pullback. If you see a lot of buyers before the pullback sort of gets closed, then more than likely is an indication of it's a bull indication, right? It's an upside that people are front running these levels to actually expecting that breakout, right? And at the end of the day, that's what a lot of people are waiting for, right? They want to get positioned here. So there's two ways to get positioned: before you actually go into the breakout, or after the breakout. You know what I mean? Like if you get positioned around here, so more than likely, right? Doesn't matter what happens here. Some people take profit, you move the stop loss or whatever, and then if this goes to the moon, goes to the moon, right? So this is kind of the best sort of risk reward setup, right? If you wait for the breakout, right? Then the breakout will look like this. It breaks out, you know, we get consolidation maybe, and then things just go nuts if, you know, people will buy this breakout. But then your risk reward depends on how high this thing will get. You know what I mean? So that's kind of two different aspects of how you get positioned, right? In terms of if you do it on the breakout or you do it prior. What I prefer to do, technically, ideally, I like to do this one, right? Because if we're right, and we take a good pullback, then anything that happens in the breakout is risk-free because you're able to actually take some profits out of the table. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm aiming to do this week, right? The downside is that probably more than likely we're going to have to wait after, or you know, let's see how the market reacts before the interest cut. I think it's in the second week of September. So that's going to be a very interesting catalyst for the market. So that's kind of what I'm seeing in terms of Ethereum. 18th. Thanks, mate. Yeah, second week of if we look at Ethereum from the open interest perspective, then same thing, same analysis, right? So we can actually see that buyers starting to buy around here, around this level here, 4,300. That's probably why you see a lot of support on that level, because it's a lot of spot buyers at that level. So this is how you can actually gauge you know, what level is important and what level is not, you know what I mean? And you can actually see that even though we still we're getting a little bit of sell-off here, I will start getting not concerned, but a little bit more cautious if we start breaking below this level here. So combination between where the market is at with the buyers of CBD, I think is a really important gauge of where the market could head. You know, so that's kind of what I'm seeing in terms of Ethereum from that perspective. So it looks good in a nutshell, right? It looks pretty good. I really like it. So let's see how it goes. But what I want to highlight is Solana. So Solana is kind of getting very, very interesting, right? I did highlight it last week. There's been a lot of things happening in Solana. Now, let's start with a monthly again, okay? All right. What do you guys see here in terms of Solana? What do you guys see on Solana here before we go into, so we have resistance, yeah. What else? Bullish, yep. Yep, strong uptrend, yep. I think definitely looks stronger than Ethereum in my mind, right? From that perspective, because we've been sort of on range since the 1st of November, right? So Solana definitely started its trend from January 2024. If we go back and have a look at Ethereum, right? All right, yeah. So 2024, it was actually, downtrend, right? So from the macro perspective, you know, like monthly perspective, right? We have that Solana definitely is quite strong. Now, this region here has been the previous month's high. This is this level here, the 1st of March, 2024. Then talking about 201. So that's a massive, massive resistance right there, right? You can actually see that you know, it fell here. That was the biggest time in 2021. And here, right? Down again, it tried to break that. It tried to break completely. Yeah, but it couldn't. So this is going to be this is a massive test for Solana. Okay. So watching this closely, right? So now I know that from the monthly perspective, it's a massive resistance there. Okay. So now we go back to the weekly, right? And the weekly gives a better perspective, right? So weekly, you can actually see how interesting these levels are in terms of how important. And I keep saying this, you guys can scalp the shit out of these levels here. Like every time that the market touches those levels, a reversal can happen. You know what I mean? And usually you can maximize that in small time frames if you know where the levels are. Now, we are in between, right? Technically from the weekly. You see this candle here, which is it's not a doji, but it's a you know, week to the upside, week to the downside, and a little bit of body. A little bit of like bearishness, but the time is indecision, a lot of indecision. It's not bearish yet, it's not bullish yet. So which one is it gonna be? Which one is it gonna be? Put in the chat. Which one is it gonna be? And we all expect that to be to the upside. That's the problem. Yeah.
Sorry, dude. I just got to go and sign for a parcel. I'll be back in 2 minutes, okay?
Oh, sure. No worries, man. No worries. All right. So we're talking about which one is it going to be. Do you guys think this thing is going to break to the upside? It's going to break to the downside. Oh, no idea. All right, up. And this is something for everyone that I like you to think about, right? Is don't think about hopefully up or hopefully down. And this is kind of the biggest battles that I have with my mindset every single day. Why? Because obviously we are biased and we're biased to the outside, but that doesn't need to happen. So whenever you guys think, oh, this is going to be to the out, we hope to the outside, then we're biased. So every time that I just look at the markets, I think it could happen both ways. Let's see which one we might, or things like that. You know what I mean? Obviously, because it will keep you out of trouble, man. So you know what I mean? So that's something that I saw always in my head. At the end of the day, I don't know. Let's see what evidence we have for this thing to perhaps break to the upside or break to the downside. So I noticed that someone mentioned about the spot volume. You bet you're right. So let's have a look, right? So that's kind of all right. So this is, you know, this is not 30 minutes. And then obviously we do have liquid markets today. So obviously expect downs, you know what I mean? Like, because we doesn't mean that market is going to crash when we start seeing things like that. It's just obviously there's not a lot of volume. There's not a lot of trade by market opens. There's not a lot of inflows on ETFs. There's not company buying. That everybody's on holidays, right? Think about it from that perspective. Okay, so from this perspective, right, if we have a look at Solana, now we see a massive influx of CBD that happens on the 31st, which is on, yeah, it was Saturday. So that happened at that level here. Now it looks like that level is not holding, right? So you have a lot of sellers right now. You have a lot of, yeah. So we might have a little bit of pullback on Solana. You look pretty good from the higher time frame. Let me show you, because this looked pretty good, man. On last week, that's why I went into Jito, right? this looked fantastic, and it still does in a way, right? Because a lot of the volume started here, right? Started here, and that was on the 26th of August. You can actually see the CVD volume just going up and market obviously going up, right? Obviously, we're going to have a little bit of pullback, some people selling, but the majority of the spot is actually positioned at those levels. So that level is going to become very, very important. We can either see a retest of that one or a front run of those lows. And if that happens, then definitely Solana is in my target list, right? Definitely. We are still positioned in the spot on this one for ages, but so far it's looking fantastic. So it looks pretty good from that perspective. Okay. So yeah. So yeah, we're gonna talk about Chronos and we're gonna talk about other stuff. So Kim has a pretty good question. How much weight do you give the EMA when looking at the charts? All right, that depends on what EMA are you watching, number one, and what time frame are you watching. You know what I mean? So 250, that's from the daily or from the hourly or from the 4 hour. That depends. You know what I mean? Like if you, EMA are really important on the daily, right? Because EMAs, SMAs, WMAs, any kind of average is just a gauge of trend, right? It's a gauge of how the price moves into a certain time frame. So it is a good gauge. I really like it, especially the 200 on daily. You know, it does gauge a lot of things on the macro perspective. So that's why I always put it on my daily here. Like if I look at on my daily, I usually look at two. One is the EMA and the other one is the SMA. And you can actually see how these ones are usually a really good gauge of daily trends. Okay, so far in terms, if we look at Solana from the daily perspective, right? We had a break to that EMA, right? We had a pullback, then a reclaim, and then this thing already went up. Okay, so yeah, that's a pretty good strategy, by the way, if you just play that. So yeah, so that this is preference. I do 200 EMA and 200 SMA, and just for those ones that don't know what's the difference in an EMA and an SMA, right? EMA is called exponential moving average. What that means is, now let's start with SMA, which is a simple moving average, which basically is just an average of the price of the close on the last couple of, like if it is 200, so it's 200 candles back. So essentially it's 200 days, right? Now, there's no way, it's just a simple average. You sum all the closes and then you divide it by 200. Okay, that's it. The EMA, right, is the same, but the difference is that it puts more weight to the prices to the closest. So it's an algorithm, like, you know, it's an exponential that actually puts a little bit more weight on the close, on the price on the previous days instead of the longer days. That's the only difference. That's why it's a little bit different. So that's why I put both, because it gives me a little bit more indication of what the price is actually heading in the short term plus the longer term. Take it from that perspective, right? So that's kind of in EMAs. I do when I do scalping, I do use EMAs and SMAs differently, but yeah, let's not get into that yet. Let's not get into that today. It's a huge subject. Anyway, where were we? Solana. All right, Solana on the weekly. Let's start with that. Let's keep going with that. So Solana on the weekly. Then we do have from the weekly perspective, this level to respect. So we are ranging, right, in between 180. But the positive things that I'm seeing is that this level is being a little bit front run. So that it's not hugely front run, but that's actually a good indication of price have continuation to the upside. Now, on a sustainable break of 206, I could definitely see this going to all-time highs here, which is 295, give or take. And then is that going to be enough for breakout? That depends on where the market is. That depends of, if Bitcoin, Ethereum, everything is pumping, more than likely is going to give the juice to these things to pop. And the positive is that everything's on the verge. Nothing, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of interesting happens, fundamentally speaking, right? That it could actually give us a really good breakout, right? So, so essentially, right, if I look at this from the daily, so from the daily, we had the break, but then next day, broke down. I don't like this price action though, because obviously the next day pretty much everybody sold off, right, on that level here. And now we're back here. Now we need some sort of pushback in order to break this. The good thing though is that we haven't actually give all the levels here. So we're still above this sort of shift of structure. So if you look at the structure, right, we can actually see that this candle here sort of was the beginning of this little market structure break, but this one has been quite volatile. So this level, I will say that it will be my biggest level to watch. If we hold this level here, even if we do a deviation, then I'll be really big on Solana. Okay, so that brings me to, let's go into weekly and let's analyze all the pairs, because this is going to give us more indication which one is actually the strongest one. So Ethereum against Bitcoin, still very, very strong, right? You can actually see that definitely is breaking structure. So Ethereum is pretty good. That gives a good indication that we might have continuation. We'll have, if everything goes up, Ethereum will go up faster. That's what I mean. But if everything goes down, Ethereum will go down the list, kind of thing. Now, Solana against Bitcoin, right? Now we do have this level here, this box here. Right? That this is the level from October 2023, right? We had a pullback and now we're sort of reclaiming back. Okay, so that's looking very good for Solana. Now, Solana against ETH, right, is now at a pullback area. Okay, if you have a look now, this is kind of the first week that we have a massive influx. However, we haven't managed to break a structure. So still this week, just by this week alone, I'm still saying that Ethereum is a little bit stronger than Solana. Until we actually start breaking this structure, we can actually see that Solana is going to start getting a lot more juice than Ethereum. Okay, so this is kind of one of the gauges that I'm watching in terms of transitioning from Ethereum to Solana. But so far, Ethereum is still looking good. You know what I mean? Like, so that's kind of one of the gauges. Another gauge that I'm watching, right, is if we have a look of all BTC pairs, right, everything against BTC, then we have, all right, Solana against Bitcoin, which is looking good. Ethereum against Bitcoin is looking good. This is kind of, we haven't seen this in ages, guys. Like, this is kind of why I'm still really biased to the upside. We haven't seen the shift on momentum for ages. This, like, if you go back of how far you can actually see the breaking structure, that was from December in Ethereum, right? Solana was much better, but then essentially was around 2023. BNB, the first shift of the structure was around 2021. He held back right there, and now we start breaking above, right? Funny enough, I'm watching ETC as well as a really high risk stuff. But then you can actually see if you pair everything with Bitcoin, you're gonna start seeing that everything is sort of shifting structure. That's actually very, very bullish. Okay, that's very, very bullish. It hasn't happened in a while. Let's go into the strongest one. So we have Link. So Link, just make this bigger. So Link, again, we started to sort of start shifting. We haven't shifted completely, right? So once we shift completely, more than likely they're gonna go, man. ENS, this is how I'm gauging what's strong and what's not strong against Bitcoin. Cardano, even though this is not strong, but you can actually see pretty much everything doing the same sort of pattern. Say, right? Say it's actually it just broke structure here, right? Now the next structure to break is this one. So everything is very, very close to actually break structure. So I'm still very positive in terms of how the market is going to develop this week. If we hold, right, and we still sort of have that continuation, more than likely everything we're going to be in a really, really good place. Okay. So that's in essence what I'm watching, right? Overall, right? But obviously have in mind that we do have huge news, right, in 2 weeks time about the interest rate, and then I think a lot of things are going to depend on it. I'm not saying it could get really bearish, but if we don't get the right news, the bullish aspect might get delayed. I don't think it's going to be, it's so much influx of capital in these things, man, right now that, that I don't see crypto crashing this year, man. I could be completely wrong, but it's just obviously there's too much capital going on at the moment, okay? Which brings me to CRO, right? We went into a few trades. So CRO, man, still holding. This one, I think is going to have continuation, right? Definitely. This was a pretty good exchange back in the days. It's still a good exchange though, and it hasn't sort of gone raw or something like that. So and the marketing that they used to do was freaking great. So I think now with more capital, with the backing of Trump media, I think this one could do well. That's I want to add more, to be honest, but I want to see how the market behaves this week. Probably add more on that 0.50. But this is kind of long-term hold sort of deal. Okay, so that's kind of what I want to highlight. Besides that, what I'm watching this week, I'm watching Mantle. And I did talk about Mantle, right? Unfortunately, I kind of missed it. But I want to talk about Mantle because, yeah, it was finally an announcement that happened yesterday, right? Bybit finally announced that MNT will power, the fees and things like that. So think about it from the perspective that Mantle is going to be like the BNB. BNB is the chain that powers Binance, right? And you can actually pay fees on BNB. If you hold BNB, then you become VIP1, VIP2, so you pay less fees and in terms of trading and things like that. So Mantle now is going to be the same equivalent for Bybit. And Bybit is still one of the biggest volume exchanges right now. Okay. What is the thing that I don't like? I was expect because so trading fee, you're gonna have trading discounts if you stake MNT, but will not be it will be only for kind of retail traders that actually use the interface, right? Now that doesn't get into account the API trading, and a lot of the volume of Bybit is actually through API. So I don't know how this news will be very, very bullish if he was using the API, but now they're taking that side out, that business outside that MNT. Still bullish, but not as great as, you know, to go in right now. Like, yeah, it's one of those things. But yeah, this I want to highlight this one because I'm still watching it. But you might not get the inflection of, you know, things that people were expecting because of that. Will they change that? Probably. If they do, that will be very bullish news, right? But I'm still watching it to see how this actually levels out in this on this area right here. It could be a still good buy, you know what I mean? Buy with this very, very heavy crypto player right now, one of the biggest ones. And now that you can actually grab MNT as a possibility of this one become like the next BNB or something like that, you know, that's a good sort of that's something very something that I'm watching closely, right? Besides that, on the back of Solana doing great, so definitely I want to pay close attention to Launch. What is it? Launch Coin again. It's in my radar. And Pump. Where are you? Launch Coin. So Launch Coin is they start announcing that it could be a buyback in terms of the platform and things like that. So I'm watching this one closely, especially on the daily, right? Because this could be seen as deviation reclaim, and then, you know, if you see prices coming down these, where are you? My pen, where is it? Like this, more than likely, we can target this area here, take some profits, and then if market has continuation, then that's great. Market retrace, that's fine as well. So I'm watching this one closely. I'm watching Pump as well, doing the same kind of thing, but I'm watching it very close. I'm watching this level here, because that could have a continuation again. So those are the main ones that I'm watching on the back of Solana doing great. So this could be a really good beta place for Solana. So yeah. So yeah, that's it, guys. So I think there's a lot of things that it could happen. I'm gonna probably tomorrow I'll talk about this because we're running out of time. But I'm putting together a list of a new narrative that is coming along, which is the prediction markets. So a lot of things happening as well on the risk asset side of things. If we do have, yeah, I do have this prediction market list. So it's a lot of new tokens. I'm just seeing these new narratives coming along. And the good thing about that is whenever the narratives are there, if we have influx on Solana, we have capital, most of the time, the ones that get benefit is the new narratives. We did talk about the robotics narratives last week, and now I'm talking probably during the week I'll do more recaps on this. But then yeah, that's pretty much what I have for you guys today. So yeah,
All
I
right.
think that's it for me, man.
Great stuff. Let's just confirm one thing. I just saw a comment then. Where is it? 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 Here we go. Yeah, so Kevin's asking about the Tuesday and Thursday videos that will be more in line with the UK time. I just want to check you're not doing a call then, are you? It's your normal update video, but it'll be sent at a different time. Is that right? Oh, oh, looks like
Yes, that's right. Give me 1 second that my computer is going to shut off. 1 second.
nice. And what time was that? Can you remember what time he said? No, no, you're asking, of course, aren't you, Kevin? Didn't he said it would be, did he say the London Open? Which would be 7 a.m., wouldn't it?
I'm back now.
All right.
Oh,
What time? Did you say it was the London Open that
testing, testing.
you're there, Maurizio? Can you hear me?
Yes, London Open.
London Open. Okay, and that's going to be on a Tuesday and a Thursday, yeah? Oh, he's gone now.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. All
Can
right.
you hear me? I'm not sure.
We
Hold
can
on.
hear you. We can't see you at the moment. We just see a completely blank screen. There we go. But you're without your FinRev background now.
Okay. All right. No problem. Yeah, I probably it's because I'm on my laptop almost ran out of battery. So, but can you hear me now?
Yeah, loud and clear, man. Loud and clear. You're a little bit jaggedy in the video, but
Okay,
maybe you need to do a restart.
probably. Let me just turn off the video. Yeah. So yeah, so London Open probably that's my time around 6:30. So probably 1 hour after London Open. Roughly between 6:30. Let me tell you exactly US time.
All right, nice. I think there's a break in the Premiership now, Kevin, until I think a couple of weeks into September. It's probably that ridiculous Nations League competition. I'm such a football snob. I don't want England to play these tiny little teams. I just want to have like a, a best in the world international league. We play Brazil every other week. Right, we all done, Maurizio? I'm just
There you
talking
go.
shit now.
Yeah, no, hold on. It's about 5 a.m. around 5:30 a.m. New York time, usually the London Open. So yeah, around that time.
All right, great stuff. See you
All
all
right,
later.
guys. Have
Ta-da.
a good one. Bye.